host, and Scott, our experience living.
He cute, right? He cute, right?
All right. We are live, family. Welcome to another show. It is your man BMT in the building. I hope all you guys are well on this, for most cases, Sunday evening. All right. We're going to have a great show lined up for you guys today. We haven't did it live in quite some time. We have a lot to talk about. It's been a lot going on in this space as of late. All right. So we're going to talk about everything tonight, man. First and foremost, I want to welcome everybody to the show. I appreciate you tuning in to the stream. All right. So let's see who's all in the building and we can get this show started. We're going to have a panel tonight, guys. We're going to really discuss this. Is the Passport Bros, as far as the brand, the name itself, is it a wrap? Is it finished? You know, has it been tarnished beyond repair? We know we have a lot of negative associations, despite it being something positive for most men. We do have a lot of negative associations being thrown, propagated onto the Passport Bro terminology, something that has organically grown for the last damn near 5 years. It's going on almost 5 years since I coined the phrase Passport Bros. All right, so we're going to talk about all that. We're going to open up the panel. We also might have a special guest coming on. He's doing the stream later as well, so we'll bring him on if he chooses to pull up. That'd be very enlightening. He's had the hottest streams as of late because of all the drama going on with the Passport Bros. All right. I want to give a shout out to Jiggy in the building. Says I'm really him. That's we got Respect Bro Prototype 1985 in the building. Was good, my bro. Kevin Johnson, Coble Push, Passport Bros damage beyond repair. Who's messing up our coalition now? Well, let's say who's not messing it up at this point, family. All right. We got 53 in the room. We piling in. And I got some things lined up for the show. Do me a favor, guys. When you come on in the room, make sure you hit that like button because we're going to flow. What up? What's good? M collecting data. What's good? Black chairman in the building says many blessings to the fellas. Also, man, I want to give a shout out to the Passport Bros Facebook group. Shout out to everybody, the members in the public passport. It's private, but you remember Facebook is still public. So shout out to everybody in the Facebook group. Shout out to my man Brandon. He's the main admin of that group. He's a little strict. You like the iron hand, but there's a lot of trolling in that group. Unfortunately, the group has been infiltrated by some plantation bros. So shout out to my man Brandon Clark and all the other ass mans, 5 Dudes for Dre, my man Michael and Danny. Shout out to all the admins of the Passport Bros group, as well as the members, man, as well. Brandon Clark said the Billy says, what up, chat? What up, BMT? What's good? All right. So I got the mayor. This is why it's going to be important. We're going to get to the panel shortly. It says the mayor of Music and Travel says, sorry, but my whole building banned Passport Bros from Airbnb. I don't think they specifically banned so-called Passport Bros. Too much problems. But that's pretty much tourists. This is the thing. Airbnb has made changes everywhere, basically. It's just not Medellin. You got to travel outside of Colombia to see that there's a lot of problems with the Airbnbs, and it's going to be problems anything you have where you have multiple people coming in. It's like having multiple people come and drive your car. You know what I'm saying? Or you rent out your home, you rent out. It's going to always be problems when you rent to various people, no matter what. Even if you have a tenant for a year or two, I've owned properties in the States. Listen, the house going to be total fuck up, even if it's a good tenant. So just imagine what you have to go through in Airbnb. I don't like the fact that we always kind of like throw each other under the bus as if we're just this, dysfunctional culture or race of people. When in actuality, we're almost all the same. There is no perfect ethnic group on the planet. So trust me, if you out here, you come to Thailand, you Pattaya specifically, you will see that it's a lot of jankiness going on amongst every single group. I was walking a couple of, I think last weekend sometime, I was walking and I saw some guys. I want to say they was Russian because I live in a Russian neighborhood, but I just, to me, we're Americans, so we just see two white guys. But they're going back and forth, arguing everything. They get into a, fisticuffs fight right there, right in front of me. They stop, they pause, and let me walk through. They was like, "What's up, bro?" I'm like, "Hell, I don't want to get involved with this shit." And they just got active with each other. So we got to get out of this whole mindset that, specifically black men just are like the kryptonite to everything good. That's been programmed into us, unfortunately, by the Western powers. So we got to get out of that. Oh, they're banning, this, and we ruined this, and we did. We don't have enough power to ruin shit, to be honest with you. All right. But we'll have a panel. We'll discuss that later on in the show. Guys, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button and think positive, not only of yourself, man. Think positive of where you come from, too. It's just so much damaging, false information being propagated on these social media that you really internalize this self-hate that we have. It's being pumped into us 24/7 with these algorithms. That's why it's so important to take a break from Instagram, take a break from Facebook, take a break, from some of these social media platforms, because they're really programming you. The television programmed us in the previous generation. Now, these social media platforms that are not owned by us, not ran by us, don't donate anything to our communities, anything, they're programming the youth right now. And it's concerned they can program in us as well. And if you look at it, I mean, every other post is going to be, this, that, and the other about race, this, that, and the other. So just be mindful, man. Take a break from it sometimes, because it's programming your mind to hate and to think that you just come from this super, super superior dysfunctional culture on the planet, when the reality is we have the high morality on the planet. The reality is once you get around these other groups and see how they talk to women, you see how they, see how they move, you'll be like, oh shit, that's how they moving? That's what they doing? They doing it like that? You know what I'm saying? You'll be surprised what goes on in these other countries, family. Don't think that we got some janky shit going on in our communities too. We know that by design, but it's a lot of janky, dusty ass, effed up-ish other places. And your quality of life matters. In a lot of cases, what you're seeing in some cases is when we go to these new spaces, when we go to these new countries, not new countries, but when we start to, we're traveling more, we're getting passports and everything like that, and you're traveling amongst some of the upper, I'm not going to say up, because wealth, money doesn't make you necessarily upper class. But when you in these zones and everything, they might not be used to seeing black people. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a big difference in black Americans and black people from other places. There's a lot of similarities between black people and the Caribbeans and of course the South American black people. But just in general, you're walking into these spaces and they're not necessarily used to seeing successful black people. Okay. So that can sometimes inject jealousy, especially with some of these Middle Eastern cats, these Indian cats and shit like that. All right. What's going on, Anthony Logistics? Yeah, man, I'm kind of tired of it, man. Like, it's just, everything is, blame black men on every goddamn thing. Man. Come on, man. First of all, it's a small percentage of us traveling. That's number one. Number two, the guys that do travel, especially to these other countries outside of Colombia, you know what I'm saying, the DR, which is you're going to get a certain demographic of travelers for the most part, not saying it's anything wrong, I love Colombia, I love the DR. But once you start traveling the world, you'll see that we actually, Black Americans got a decent reputation at this point, because it's not a lot of us traveling like that. All right. Yeah. So I really wanted to dissect that because I used to be wondering what's up with the passive aggressiveness, some of the looks that some of these guys give, even here in Pattaya. And what I recognized, I said, oh, what it really is the fact that where they from, a lot of cases, especially over there in India and the Middle East, that whole little subsector, and even in some parts of Asia, believe it or not, their so-called Black people, all right, Black Palestinians and all that shit, and even the groups in India, their people aren't doing that well, right? They keep them economically suppressed, right? They keep them, in a certain position, right, to look above them in some of these countries. And then here come your Black ass pulling up, Jordans, credit cards, capital, retirement, digital nomad jobs, strong passport, fresh, looking clean, looking different, healthy. A lot of these motherfuckers be malnourished walking around here, sleeping on beaches and shit. And here you come, spending money, not even only spending money with a different type of essence, a different type of, let's just say swag, different type of, you bring a different type of something, and what you bring is dispelling all the narratives that were told to them. So here you come in, 6 foot, your chest out, deep voice, you know what I'm saying? Spending a little bread, and all the women kind of gawking at you because you're the exotic one now. And that takes the attention from them. And they're jealous of your citizenship, not knowing what all we've been through in that country. All right. Mary, you're welcome to pull up. Me and Mary have this debate all the goddamn time. Mary just swear that, Black men are just so dysfunctional and everything, and everybody else is perfect. But Mary, you are welcome to pull up. Speaking of Colombia, I want to show this clip that somebody posted in the Facebook group. What up, J. Clyde? What's good, my brother? Hold on, I want to put this up. Let me see if I can pull this up. Hold on. Where we at? I want to pull this up. Let me pull this up.
He cute, right? He cute.
Okay, hold on. Let me know if you guys can see that. Can you guys see that on the screen? StreamYard be acting crazy now for some reason. All right. So somebody posted this in the Facebook group, man. This shit is kind of cringe for some reason. And I get it to a certain degree. Okay, I'm lagging a little bit. Let me let the stream catch up. Actually, damn, I wish I can go because I'm in the Ethernet cord. Okay, for some reason I'm lagging just a tad bit, family. No, that's not Paola. That's not her. It looked like her a little bit, but that's not her. All right, so this was kind of cringe. Let me know if you guys see it. Press 1 if this is coming through. You guys can hear it. It's coming through clear. It's not borging out. All right.
He cute, right? He cute, right?
Okay, so this is Parque Lleras, one of Medellin's hottest nightlife spots. Our experience there was lustful. Girls are eating the men up with their eyes, single or not. My homegirl and I let our husbands roam several feet ahead of us, and as you can see, the panties were hot and the pockets are hungry.
You heard that right. All right. And hey, different show for different folks. They bring their wife to Parque Lleras and they're talking to girls while they're in the background. That shit is weird as hell to me. Like I say, I guess they're trying to show their wives that they're still wanted to a certain degree. I don't think maybe the wives know what's really going on out there, but just the aesthetics of it just looks really weird, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, just I'm not gonna criticize this. I know marriages go in their ups and downs and shit, and people have been married for a long time. They want to spice it up, and maybe they kind of like, I don't know, didn't tell their wives what was really going on out there. I don't know. But to me, this shit is just cringe, bro.
Okay, I will say 98% of the women, and it's a lot of them, are beautiful and body is teased. So if you're insecure or may feel uncomfortable, stay humble and worry about yourself. We stayed on the sidelines and just watched them have conversation and kiki and point here and point there and do their little thing. The girls in the back was peeping game, but they ain't saying nothing, so it is what it is. They really left them out to dry. Every woman for themselves, I guess. But we let them do their thing or whatever. Look at that booty. Okay, that's a Colombian booty. Stop playing. But once the phones came out, yeah, we had to run interception. Because what's going on? What are you showing them?
It's weird, right? Like, this shit is weird.
What are we doing?
What y'all looking at? Hi.
Sis was shooketh.
What y'all looking at? Y'all bad?
Parqueyeras, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, I was bogging out a little bit. To me, it was weird. Like I say, different show for different folks. Some guys saying it's not weird. Some guys saying, hey, they just having fun. But I mean, at the same time, you have to be aware of, you know, what's going on out there too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to kind of be aware that it's street activities going on, and that might not be the most family friendly environment to have your camera out recording people, you know, as part of your little, I don't know what was the point of doing that. But like, just keep in mind, she walking up with the camera and shit, like, man, just, you know, just kind of know where you at. That's all I'm saying. I get it. Marriage is crazy, different for different folks. It's all fun and games, but you know, you kind of in a somewhat sketchy, yeah, I mean, it's police everywhere and everything like that, but just, I don't know. You know, I like our space to kind of continue to be our space. I guess guys want to kind of, you know, bring their wives down and shit. I've seen it in Sasua as well. I mean, you see it out here, guys have their wives. I get it. You know what I'm saying? Me and my girl walk down Soy 6 every now and then too, just to kind of watch the shit. But I don't know, man. It's just, you know, it's just weird to me. To me personally, it's weird. All right. My wife said my wife would never let this go, let alone narrate a video about it. Yeah, to me, it's weird. Like I say, different show for different folks. But to me personally, you know, and I know couples that have been married for a long time. She go to Jamaica, he go to Colombia. Trust me, I get it. You know, after a while, you've been married for a while. You be wanting your partner say she going somewhere. You like, thank God, get the fuck on. You know what I'm saying? I get that part too. I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. But to me, it's strange. All right, got my name Crossing Borders. What's going on, brother? With the 20 mil pesos, I really appreciate that. The first super chat of the night. Shout out to you, man. I've been checking out your streams and everything. It says crazy how these women are following and recording men. Sisters did the same here in Cali during the Afro-Colombian Festival 2 weeks ago. Well, Dre, I believe those are their wives. Like I say, it's really strange how they set that up. Like, I don't, you know, but keep in mind, you know, that is, you know, nefarious activities going on in that area. I wouldn't feel comfortable with, you know, my lady walking up with cameras and shit like that. Just keep in mind. I appreciate the 20 mil pesos, Andre. We got to do a collab, man. We haven't connected in a while, brother. We have not connected in a while. Also, Andre is also on the Passportbros app. Guys, we had a major update. Shout out to my developer. He might be watching this. He's out there in Africa, in West Africa. Really dope developer, man. He has fixed the live. All right, so we have a high definition live going on the Passportbros app. Matter of fact, let me see. Let me show my man. Let me see if I can pull this up. Hold on. Let me see if I can share the screen real quick, family. If you guys have not downloaded the app yet, hold on. I'm bugging out a little bit here.
I don't know how to dance, but can lean and make the ghetto bitches put their hands on their knees. Make the ghetto bitches put their hands on their knees. Make the ghetto bitches put their hands on their knees. I don't know how to dance, but can lean.
Okay, hold on. This shit's all over the place. We bugging out. Hold on. We bugging out. Okay. I didn't mean to show that part of the app. Actually, hold on. All right, that's a little. Hold on. I think okay, that's what happened. All right. We back flowing, family. We back flowing. Okay. So we got my man Ray's going live on the app. Okay, I went live earlier. All right, the live is high definition and everything like that. Guys can donate just like you donate here in YouTube. So we have that available as well. Yeah, I actually didn't mean to show that part, but it'd be all types of activities on the Passport Bros app. But sure, make sure to download the Passport Bros app. Yeah, it's a dope seeing different content creators, different guys going live. We had a guy go live in Spain one time. He was breaking down Spain. We had a guy go live in Cambodia. Shout out to my man Esmond MIA. He went live in Cambodia. So I mean, it's dope. And of course, on top, we're a little bit more lenient. We're a whole lot more lenient than the streams you'll see on YouTube. I want to point that out. I just want to point that out. All right. So I want to show this right here. Hold on. Let me pull this up.
Significant other into the United States.
All right. Now, I know you guys have seen this video that went viral within the space. Shout out to Daryl McPherson. I actually wanted to cover this last week. This happened I think a couple of weeks ago. I actually wanted to cover this last week about the so-called Passport Bro extradite filter. Okay, I want to just break a few things down. Like I say, I like Daryl Shaw. He's also in the Passport Bros group as well. And I just want to go over some things. Some of the things he said was definitely factual. The Trump administration have definitely switched it up on marriage fraud. But I think a lot of people assume that this was specifically for Passport Bros, which isn't really necessarily true. All right. I know we think that when it comes to the 90-day fiancés and it comes to marriages, and we have this thing where we say we don't bring them back to the States. In general, Passport Bros like to leave the States and not necessarily bring them back. What up, T-Mac? I'm get a super chat in a moment. But I want to show this before I even play the video. I want to show this chart because a lot of us assume that, matter of fact, let me play the video first. Then I'll show you this chart on the other end. Hold on.
I used to convince Passport Bros.
And let's go. Okay. I don't know why my internet. I got super fast internet. This shit kind of bored me a little bit.
I used to convince Passport Bros that it's a bad idea to bring their significant other into the United States. Just handed them the ultimate weapon. The Passport Bros just receive an insane advantage, which means they will win in every single dating market on the planet.
Let's dive into this, family. Hold on, let's dive into this because he's saying some ish. Let's dive into it though.
4 decades, you had to hide your foreign wife from the West, afraid she'd get infected by feminism the moment you brought her into America. But as of August the 1st, that fear is dead because now the U.S. government has quietly activated something I call the extradite filter. And it changes everything. And I'm about to break this down in this video right now. Let me just show you why Passport Bros just got overpowered and how anyone who can get a passport can benefit from this movement. Guys, most men don't understand what just happened. There was a huge policy update by Donald Trump, and it wasn't just about immigration. It was about leverage. Because for the first time in decades, the girl you bring back to the United States can't just flip the switch, get westernized, and walk off with half of your life. As of August 1st, 2025, she either plays her role or her ass gonna get deported. No one is talking about this yet. So let me just break down exactly what just dropped and why I call it the extradite filter. On August 1st, 2025, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services dropped a quiet bomb. A new policy update now makes one thing clear. Marrying a U.S. citizen no longer guarantees permanent residency. Let me say that again. Marriage no longer means to convince Passport Bros that it's a...
Okay, we'll just stop it. We'll just stop it right there. Shout out to Daryl McPherson. Guys, do me a favor, hit the like button. Now, we're going to break this all down. But first, before we break this policy down, a lot of people assume this is for the men. All right. A lot of people assume this is, from the men, women from Latin America trying to get green cards to come to America. But let's look at the facts. Let's look at the charts. Hold on. Let's pull this up. All right. Now, these are, let me move this comment section real quick. I got the super chat in a moment, my man T-Mac. So this is the marriage fraud cases by country, okay? As you guys can see, Nigerians are getting it in, all right? They up there. Nigerians is up there. And speaking of Nigerians, we all know that's mainly young African guys with older white American women, okay? You would think, like I said, you thought it was the men, but this ain't Nigerian women, marrying, trying to get in the States. This is Nigerian men. Let's just keep it real. Next on the chart, actually the Philippines, but that's the highest, but we'll go to Ghana. That's a big one. All right, you got Ghana right there. Same thing, same setup. Young African guy trying to get to the States, and we know how Trump administration feels about melanated countries right now, trying to enter into the States. Because you got Ghana right there. All right. After that, you got the Philippines with the highest level. Philippines is pretty much an English-speaking country. And we know, we see the 90-day fiancés. We know that's a big thing out there in the Philippines. And the DR. I don't know why DR isn't on this list. The DR is up there too. All right. So you got the Philippines right there, marriage fraud cases. Then you got Brazil. Funny story about Brazil. So I was in, shout out to my man Hobson. I was hanging out in the Rosino favela, and I was just hanging out, eating with his family and everything like that. And he said, "Hey man, my cousin wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "Okay, your cousin?" I'm thinking, this happened this is like in 2022, I believe. Yeah, 2022. He said, "Hey man, my cousin wants to talk to you." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." You know what I'm saying? So he's like, "Yeah, this is her." He showed me a picture. He showed me a picture of her cousin. Of course, she's Brazilian. So she's, knockout gorgeous and everything like that. And he says, yeah, if it's okay, I'll give her your number. She speaks, pretty good English. I said, that's even better, right? Thinking in my head, that's even better. This is in Brazil now. So, I'm at the house. She calls me up. And she's like, "Hey, how you doing? This, that, and the other." And she says, "Hey, I heard you want to stay in Brazil." And I was like, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still moving around. I just left Colombia and I've been out here for about several months. I like it, but I'm not, sure if I necessarily want to move full time here. I still got to hit other countries. And she said, listen, if we marry each other, you'll get Brazilian citizenship and I'll get American citizenship. And we can just pay for our own paperwork. And it just totally threw me off. I was like, what happened now? Because I just, Brazil never gave me that vibe that women out there really want to come to America. But turns out they do. At least she did. I respect the fact that she was upfront with it off rip. I'm thinking I'm talking to just a baddie that want to just, date, talk. She was about on the 1 to 10 scale, she was like a 9.5. Okay. But apparently she wanted to do like a sham marriage, and she was telling me all the process and it's normal. It's going to be about $12K and all this stuff like that. She even, when I turned her down, she even offered money. And I'm like, why do you want to get to America so bad? Like, what is it? And she's like, well, what is she there? She's what y'all call that doctor that do the skin? What do y'all call the doctor that focuses on the skin? What's that called? What's that called, family? The doctors that focus on your skin, that fix your skin problems and all that. What's that shit called? Damn it. Appreciate that, Brandon Clark. Dermatologist. She was a dermatologist. And she wanted to get to America where she said, hey, I'm a dermatologist here. I make such amount of money. If I get to the States, I speak perfect English. I can make way more money and all this other stuff. Yeah, dermatologist. She's a dermatologist. That's another thing. Don't get it twisted. Like all these women in South America that are just beautiful, just down bad. That's another myth. All right, you got some very professional women in Colombia, in Brazil, bro. Venezuela, you got some. They don't make as much money as they would like. And Brazil has gotten expensive, especially the zones where you got Brazilians and Westerners. Those, they're going to price gouge, so they want to, they want to still live in that Ipanema, that little area, that little ritzy area, and they feel like in some cases they don't make a lot. So yeah, that was my experience. So yeah, you do got women that definitely want to come to America and everything, and then of course you got Colombia there. So it's more. Believe it or not, it seems like it's more marriage fraud cases on the older women's side than it is the actual men, outside of guys with the sham marriages in the Philippines. All right. So let's see what this policy. Let's break down what this policy really means. This immigration policy. All right. What Trump did was really reinforce and reenact things that they were doing back in the 40s and 50s, basically. All right. They're gonna do in-person interviews. They're going to pull up to your neighborhood. They're going to ask your neighbors, are they really married? All right. They're going to pull up at your job, her job. They're going to do what they call, it's a certain terminology when they call split interviews. I've got the certain stroke interviews, some where they interview you and they interview her separately and they ask certain questions. So it's going to be a little bit more stringent now. All right. He's not going to be able to just do some paperwork because at one point, they got rid of the interviews. Now it's mandatory to have an appointment. Now, the key thing to take away from this that the brother did not mention in this video, the key thing to mention is the fact that after 2 years, they can apply for permanent citizenship. So this extradite filter is only technically good for 2 to 3 years. That's the only thing they really, really changed for the most part. The first 2 years, they're going to be kind of on it. They're going to be, pulling up to your house, seeing if the guy or the girl still really lives there. Okay. They're going to be asking your neighbors, are you really married, for the first couple of years. All right. If she divorces you or try to divorce you, then of course, everything, a green card, she won't get a green card and all that good stuff. So basically she has to play nice, I guess you want to say, for the first 2 years. And the third year is somewhat like a limbo period. But if they, do what they say they're going to do for the first couple of years, they can still get permanent citizenship. And I think my brother left that out. So that's an important part. So in essence, the finesse is still ongoing. The finesse is still real. But if she holds it down for a couple of years and just plays the role, she can still get a green card, folks. Okay? CC says, I think it's a good thing, but at the same time, it's a waste of taxpayer dollars. Shit, what isn't a waste of taxpayer dollars at this point? All right, let me catch that super chat real quick. Okay. It says, what up, BMT? Appreciate the $10 super chat, brother. He said, hope all is good. Yes, all is well in the land of smiles, man. Appreciate the $10 super chat, my brother. Appreciate that. All right. So I want to pull this up. Let me see if I can remove that. Let me remove this. All right. What's this? Okay, here we go.
Doing is
we'll play my man Austin in a moment, family. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and drop a link if you guys want to go ahead and pull up. I got a special guest that might be pulling up as well. So we'll see if he pulls up as well. I'm going to go ahead and drop that link. Also, let me check out the poll. Let me see what the poll is saying. Okay. Let me see what the poll is saying, family. Hold on. So we put a poll in the chat. Basically saying, is the Passport Bros done? Is it beyond repair? Is it finished? And 70% of the polls say no, it's not. Okay, let me just click that off. All right, we back. We are back. Apologies, family. We got super fast internet out here, but sometimes it just acts janky. But I'm off the Wi-Fi now currently. All right, let me put this back up. All right. Okay. So I want to play this video and let me guys know. Matter of fact, let me drop a link one more time. Let me know what you guys think about what Austin said. If there's some truth to what he's saying. Personally, I disagree. I said we already have somewhat of a membership in the Passport Bros app, but let you hear what he had to say. He threw my name out there. You know, hold on.
Passport Bro name has already been bought by Aaron Ferris, but what he's not doing is he doesn't have it in a fraternity setup. And why am I bringing this up? Because whether we not gonna be able to get away from it. If you fuck some chick in another country, they gonna say you're a passport, bro. Like it's inevitable at this point. I done disassociated myself, and I had a tattoo. I covered them, and they still saying it about me. They need to go. We just gonna have to go ahead and set up a fraternity system.
As if guys in fraternities don't get in trouble sometimes. All right.
For example, you can't be in Omega Psi Phi, kill somebody, and be like, oh, Ronald's. Now he ain't on membership.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Let me know what you guys think, but that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
He ain't one of us, so you gotta have an official membership. That's the issue. Is everybody can just say they a passport, bro.
Right.
So anytime somebody black or even white at this point do something, they can just slap it on the whole thing. So
that's not going to stop the media from deeming people passport bros. It's not the fact that dudes are calling themselves passport bros or anything like that. It's the fact that media outlets like World Star Hip Hop, different articles, different YouTubers, content creators will label anything passport bros in order to get views, clicks, and views, in order to bring attention to it since the popularity of the term. All right. Yeah, and keep in mind, and this is the thing, man. I just share this with the audience, and I don't have any issues with Austin. Me and Austin are cool. We talked behind the scenes. We did many interviews. We did content. I met him a couple of times. Austin's cool, man. But at the same time, business-wise, Austin wanted the Passport Bros for himself, which he did not start. All right, it was already rolling. He put a tattoo. Didn't nobody tell him to put a tattoo on his arm and everything. We was already our own community. Things were already kind of concrete, set in place before he even arrived with the Passport Bros. Did he introduce it to a younger generation? Yes, he did. Did he introduce it to TikTok? Yes, he did. But despite that fact, he did want the name to himself, and I denied that. I said, no. All right? No. You got your, you're Austin Holloman. Shout out to you. But at the same time, you did get in a little situation in Brazil. We stood tall for you, but that doesn't mean you can have the name for yourself. So that's where this is coming from, right? That's where all this is coming from. He wants the name for himself. Maybe he feels a certain way about, me having it. I'm the one that coined the phrase. So of course, that is what it is, right? BMT Live, don't ever do what he is saying. You are begging for a lawsuit and to be treated like, no, I'm not. Yeah, he denounced himself as being a passport bro plenty of times. We got 224 people in the room. Guys, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. All right? Austin's, I got love for Austin. I never said I didn't have love for Austin. All right. I never said I didn't have love for Austin. Somebody said, how old are most passport bros? Man, passport bros can range from anywhere from damn near 18 to whatever. You know what I'm saying? Whatever age. But as far as most passport bros, I think as far as my analytics vary from, I would say, anywhere from 30 and up. 30 and up. That's what at least my analytics say. But you got a whole new generation Z's, Nexus, and whatever coming through using the terminology Passport Bros. King New says he's a self-appointed leader, denounce this guy and keep Passport Bros. Which is strange. If you look at what he said at the very end.
If you an investor, reach out to me.
What was that? The investor in what? You know what I'm saying? You're an investor. You can't make this shit up, bro. You can't make this shit up. All right, let me go ahead and bring my man Game Changer on. What up, Game Changer?
Hey, what's going on?
Game Changer. Hey, what's good, bro? I've been seeing you in these YouTube streets as of late.
Oh yeah. I just I've been making my rounds.
I can barely hear you, bro.
But
I can barely hear you.
Is this better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, great. Okay, so I just got here, so I'm a little behind on the topic, so forgive me on that. But I was answering your question that you had in the chat room, and that is it over for the Passport Bros? I don't know why it would be, but I will say that even if there was something that happened that would end the Passport Bros, as an organization, the whole idea of men outsourcing or seeking international or expanding their options beyond the current Western culture is never going to go away, and that's just the nature of men. We're going to explore whenever we run out of resources. You explore the world to find others. You don't just sit in the same spot and deal with the depravity that exists. That's why outsourcing exists as it comes to labor. We find places like China or something like that, and if America needs a resource that America doesn't grow naturally, or just don't really have an abundance of it, then you make arrangements with other nations that do. That's just something that's going on. So the short answer is maybe the organization, but never the idea that formed the organization to begin with.
Yeah, these are facts. It's like the phrase, the terminology of it, it's here to stay. I thought we was having a viral moment a few years ago, and everything would kind of die back down. But they keeping it alive, man. Even with the fake so-called controversy behind it, they're keeping it alive. We go viral at least once every few months. That terminology goes viral, and it's bigger than the thing about Passport Bros. It's bigger than just one person. And what people are really upset about, more so than anything, is the ideology behind it, the thought process. That's what they're really upset about. The thought process that if you're not treated well where you're at, and you leave to go somewhere else. And what's revealing to me is we're seeing women are kind of telling on themselves up to a certain degree. Men hate it on it too, but women are really telling on themselves when you view how they look at men as a collective, not just as an individual. Because why would they have a big issue with this? It's because they look at us as a pool almost. You know what I'm saying? Like they look at us differently than we look at them.
Well, yeah, I mean, we are a pool. We are their mating pool. We're also their economic pool and whatever else their attention pool. Basically, they pull from us whatever resource or emotional desire that they need. And so far, due to changes in modern Western culture, they have extraordinarily cheap access to everything that we have to offer them. They don't want to see that change. They basically have a monopoly on us, pretty much, on our everything that we want from women. They have a collective monopoly on that, and they don't.
Game changer. Are you saying are you talking about black men in particular? Because white dudes have always got the hell on. They've always had that option to date a chick from Russia or Asia or something. This is kind of new for us, right?
Yes, it's more so in the black community, and in the black community, it's a psychological hold. You see, it's America is very unique, or at least Black America is unique amongst all places that were slave colonies. We're the only ones where we're still here in the form that we came, more or less, which is unusual. If you look at places like Brazil, or you look at places like Dominican Republic, or places. I mean, Haiti is different because they rebelled. But if you look at
Mm.
England and France, which were slave nations as well, they're indigenous. There is no foundational Black English. They all integrated into society and mixed into the English thing. The modern Blacks there are Jamaican and African immigrants.
Hmm.
So we were extraordinarily reluctant.
Yeah, and they can get deported to go back home, but we can't.
Yeah, exactly. But they were extraordinarily reluctant to integrate and start relationships with white people, with the colonizers. Or excuse me, we were extraordinarily reluctant to do so. We have been about 13% of the population, and it's 13% of the population that stuck together so much that we have people as dark as Wesley Snipes in it. Like that's highly unusual to tell. It's kind of like, imagine going to a club, there's 100 women there, and somebody say you can only mess with those 13. You can only mess with 13 of them, and you stick to that. That takes an extraordinary amount of brainwashing to not venture out, and this is within the country. So
Yeah.
yes, Black American men have historically been loyal to Black American women, to the
Hmm.
point of now it's that loyalty is being exploited and disrespected. And a presentation of that disrespect is the modern behavior of Black women, and the low quality that they give Black men, the low quality of themselves that they give Black men.
Hmm. Yeah, you have a point. We go to these other countries, for example. When you even if you're in Medellin and you realize that, okay, these people are relatively new to this. You know what I'm saying? Like this area, basically. Like these people are a mix, basically.
Mhm.
They've been breeded into this. You know what I'm saying? To this position, basically. When the
They're
indigenous are
bamboozled.
like little
Yeah.
little brown people running around. And if you pay attention to some of the monuments in Medellin, if you just pay attention to it and you just look at the conquistadors, you will see that, okay, these people in Colombia that we're seeing right now, these Pisces and shit. These people are about 300-400 years old, like like. But the people, the indigenous people, they little brown people basically. So you're absolutely right. We
Right,
didn't
exactly.
necessarily they didn't necessarily that what happened there didn't necessarily happen in America for whatever reason.
Well, there's a number of reasons, but I mean, from a historical standpoint, not a cultural one, they should be darker than us, because slavery ended in 1880 for them, where for us it ended in 1865. So they had an additional 15 years, to which they were slaves, meaning that they had 15 years less of being free.
Mhm.
Also, the slavery there was significantly different than the slavery here, because slaves did not really, what's the word I'm looking for, breed. Slaves weren't brought there to breed, they were brought there to work until they died, and they just bought other ones because they were so close to Africa to do so on the cheap. Which means that the final generation of slaves that were released were not mixed at all, because they weren't bred out, they weren't bred like we were. And in the shorter period of time that they were emancipated is when they decided to mix, which
Mhm.
is, unlike us, we stick to our own, and we have, more or less, for, once again, over 100 years,
Mhm.
160 years to be exact. So yeah, I mean, it's a cultural thing, and once again, we have been placed into this. We have been taught. Oh, hold on one moment. We have been taught from a very young age, we as Black men, to remain race loyal. Um, Now, while at the same time, our women were told to be independent, meaning that every Black boy was groomed to go out and get a Black woman, and every Black woman was groomed to not need a Black man. So we're basically chasing a group of women that don't need us, and they're
Mhm.
vocal. this is going to come to an end, and Passport Bros is just one of the representations that of that ending.
Now, is that exclusive to us? Because that's going on around the world right now. They have negative birth rates in Japan and Asia because the women are basically independent. You know, they don't have to be tied to the man anymore. They don't want to have babies anymore. They want to just work and go shopping.
No, that's an unfortunate side effect of a number of things, but one, prosperity and non-continuous prosperity. Prosperity is a good thing. However, what happens is if the preceding generation is not doing better than the previous generation, then there is a low birth rate. For example, you know, grandma and grandpa could just, you know, grandma and grandpa, or I should say grandpa, he could graduate high school and 2 years later buy a house on a job that he got with a high school diploma. Here, you can you can have your master's in engineering or physics or something like that, and you still probably won't buy your first home until you're 30. So the things were better, the circumstances were better then. Each generation, you know, had to work harder to get the same amount, and that took its toll. So, you know, women did start to produce a lot less children because they were looking for the circumstances that they were raised under to produce children. They're like, okay, my dad had a house, you know, my dad had a house before I was born. My dad had this, this, and this before I was born. So I'm going to wait until I find a man with this, this, and this, and then some before I start to, you know, before I start to settle down and start a family. That and feminist ideology is really, you know, holding us back collectively.
Okay, I want to read this comment by my man Felipe Lindsay. Says, BMT Live is Spanish, the French, the Portuguese that didn't bring their wives to the colonies in America. That's true. The English did, so the American slaves were more isolated from Luzunga. Good point. That's a very good point. It's funny because I was talking to a Afro-Colombian girl. She don't consider herself black, but she can be my sister. She looks like prototypical black. And she said that when the Spanish came, they basically R-worded everybody. Like it just came and just did it to everybody. That's why the mixture is just so crazy, and the women are just so, you know, look like that the way they look. That's we just saw the video earlier. Like the women of all various sizes, shapes, complexions, everything. Because you're right, they didn't bring their wives there. They got it in. They definitely got it in.
I definitely understand what he's saying, but what he's referring to is the relationship between the colonizer and the indigenous population, not their slaves. By the time they settled and bought their slaves there to these places, and I'm not really talking about French colonies, even though you know, the same can be said true about the French colonies. I'm talking about you know, like Senegal or Haiti or something like that, but I'm not really talking about places like that. I'm talking about in their native country, in France itself, in England itself.
All right, so Felipe said he's talking about both actually. Before we get to that, I want to talk about Josh Ott's comment. He says Passport Bros is counterculture in the black community. I never looked at it that way, man. Do y'all think he's right about that? You know, you might be. I never thought about it being counterculture, but you might be right because the black community is a matriarch. So anything that's, you know, pushing, you know, guys up out of that system could be considered to be counterculture.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. You know, the black community has become a matriarchy. I mean, or at least it has a matriarchal agenda. And this does run contra to this agenda. So yes, I do definitely agree with this brother. I mean, anything outside of, you know, embracing and worshiping the queen with a W, you know, is definitely against the black community's agenda.
What is the black community's agenda, though?
Good question.
There's no agenda.
No.
To be the backbone, the bottom level of the American economy, because we don't own no businesses within it. Shit.
No,
is that the agenda?
The black community, as far as the women go, because everyone in the black community has a different agenda for it. But as far as the black women goes, the black community is a community where women can behave as they please without restriction or restraints, because these things they equate to slavery. So where yeah, and that's it. They really don't care about the prosperity of it. In fact, they fear the prosperity of it because black people have been bound by poverty. So they fear that the moment we become wealthy, or prosperous in any way, shape, or form, then the black man loses his bond to the black woman.
Okay. I want to welcome to the show my man Felipe. What's good, bro?
Hey, how's everybody?
Good. We in here.
All right. Thanks for having me up. I just was going to come up for a second and kind of clarify what I'm talking about. That I was, in fact, talking about the African slaves and the native people. The difference is that specifically the United States, let's deal with them as opposed to some of the other colonies that the English have. They were founded by the Puritans, and they were given charters because the Puritans were causing all kinds of upheaval in the UK because of taxes that came out of Parliament and the King. And so they had a bad habit of going into the town square, not paying their taxes and setting themselves on fire and being extremely disruptive. And so the reason why a lot of them were encouraged to go to what became the Americas was because the king and the parliament couldn't deal with them anymore. That is a distinctly different story than what went on with the Spanish and the Portuguese specifically, where essentially they went out on exploration after they pushed the Moors out, who had been in Iberia for 1,000 years. And I pointed Aaron to the laws where it came from. It's called this thing called Las Castas. And under the Las Castas laws, there were all these different rules for the different mixes. And I'm sure if you Google it, you can see there are like 15 or 20 different mixes of various different races, some with African, some with native. And then it depends on how much African blood you have. There's a whole thing of that. But the point of it was that these different designations related to vocations. So if you had this mix and that mix, then you could do this job. So it's a whole thing, and you can Google it while I'm on and talk about it. But what I wanted to talk about, Aaron, was an ideology is a much better discussion point, in my view, than what was proposed by the video that you put up. And the reason why is,
What was proposed? I got here late.
One of the videos that Aaron played, a young man suggested that you set up a fraternity and that you would pay dues, and you could exclude by having this fraternity who's in the organization and who's not. And the problem with that, which the fraternities, and Aaron brought it up within seconds of playing it, is that you can also be sued. And you also would have to have insurance and be bonded and all of these other things, because now you're an organization. You'd have to be licensed. It's extremely expensive. And the fact of the matter is that's not the rule that the media is using, as Aaron eloquently pointed out, as to who's in it and who's not. It essentially is whoever they decide it is that's overseas and gets into trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you can't control that because you can't control the media agenda on it. And this was the key point, what I wanted to bring up. And that is that there is profiteering in the mindset of, the one I put in the chat, the plantation bros. Mm-hmm. There are several interest groups that we can all think of that make money off of the mentality and ideology that they put forward. And therefore, it is in their interest and in the interest of the people that make money from it to platform that opinion and to give it a lot of breadth, even though arguably, if you win in the general public, they don't know what either one is. They don't know what Passportbros is, and they don't know that, you know, these people that are coming up, and I'm colloquially calling them plantation bros. They don't know that stuff. They're going to work, you know, day to day and trying to feed their kids and whatever. So, you know, from my standpoint, the big point I wanted to make was, don't fall for the trap of these people to keep you down on the plantation so that they can make money off of you. And if you follow what they're saying, they will make money off of you. Game Changer, you just pointed it out about the money that they make on the dates and the various things. You know, that it's a whole system that has been formulated to take money out your pocket. And so I think the better thing to focus on is the arbitrage, which is really the benefit of passport growing, which is if you come with USD or if you come with British pounds or you come with euros, that the flip of that euro for Thai baht or for Colombian pesos or whatever, you know, the various, that difference of what the purchasing power is of your dollar converted to the local currency gives you a certain amount of economic leverage because of the exchange. And I think that that's undefeated and actually will increase the growth of Passportbros astronomically as the inflation and so on increases here. So I'll let you guys respond.
No, that's like the main thing that gets kind of overlooked. It's the actual lifestyle. You know, yeah, we talk about women. Women are definitely the icing on the cake, but it's just experiencing different cultures, man. Not having to spend all your money on just living expenses as you would in the States. That's the thing. That lifestyle is what's really bringing a lot of people over. You know, I want to catch this comment real quick by Des Smith. Says when the passport community started, no one anticipated the degenerates that sullied and contaminated, but they remained a minority despite what's being insinuated. You know what the messed up thing about that is, a shout out to Des Smith. The thing is, man, it's like sometimes I feel like, you know we haven't controlled our imagery for the last 100 something, forever really, as we in this country. But now because of the internet, you're starting to see more sides of black men, basically. And the thing about it is, we have to understand that we're not a monolith, and people are going to do janky shit of every ethnic group. So we have to kind of anticipate. The problem is, where the problem lies is, the world stars and the content creators that are labeling dysfunctional behavior overseas as being passport bros. That's the problem.
Well, yeah, that's not a coincidence. I mean, it's Passport Bros. The existence of Passport Bros. And the expansion of it is not in America's best interest. So they're definitely going to work against it. Think about Marcus Garvey. All he wanted to do was leave. And then, the countermeasures that America, placed on him, he made it clear that America didn't want a mass exodus of any group of people. And there's a number of reasons. You lose a lot when a lot of people leave your country. And America has a lot to lose if, millions of people start behaving this way. I mean, for one, you got to think about how much money it costs the state or the government to actually raise a full-grown American citizen, a full-grown and functional American citizen. Now, the assumption is like, okay, if we pay $70,000 a year, for your kids to go to school for free. I went to public school, and I think the two of you did also. If we spend this amount for the kids to go to school for free, then after he's 18, he'll eventually pay it back in taxes. That's the thinking behind it. So if a person leaves and pays taxes in other communities and stuff, that is a wealth of money that they invested in, that's being spent elsewhere that they won't get back. And also you lose the production. If he's an engineer, you lost the engineer. You lost the person that could be working in this particular bridge or what have you. If he's a doctor, we lost a doctor. So no matter what, it is a loss. Humans are a resource that that America can't afford to lose, especially since we're not giving birth to any. So, that is a loss, and they're going to try to discourage this behavior as much as they can. But the truth of the matter.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was going to say something, but you go ahead.
Say what you're going to say.
I interrupted you. Finish your thought.
So the truth of the matter is that there is no greater, deterrent from staying here than the behavior of the modern Western women. No matter what you call a passport bro, you can't call him unhappy in comparison to the brothers that stay. You can't.
That's real.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What I wanted to say was, Aaron, you actually were doing the solution a long time ago. Back in the ancient days of BMT, you were doing commercials, one specifically for a cigar company. I believe you were in Columbia at the time. But the solution is, I have always thought that these channels doing promotion and ad splits and what they call product placement for local vendors is a way to then create basically a de facto ad agency to then change the image of however you want to call it, the Passport Bros, Black Americans, black people who travel, because you control who's in the ads and how you promote them. So it's beneficial to the local community. It's also beneficial to us because it's a re-imaging of ourselves. And that is something that we can, and you were actually doing it because I remember your ad that you had for that tobacco, the cigar company. But that it costs a certain amount of money to do that. However, I will add, with the new AI that has come out, that you can produce that stuff a lot cheaper than you had to in the past. And also, I think it's a tremendous missed opportunity not to have the product placement. Like specifically, and I don't remember if I mentioned it to O'Shea or not, but you have all of these classically trained tailors. You have them in Thailand as well, who make suits and outfits tailor-made, and to not take advantage of saying, hey, I'm wearing so-and-so suit. If you like this suit, their website is this, that, and the other. And, we can see about suiting you up when you touch down in Bangkok or in, the capital of Uganda or wherever. That there are so many opportunities that are being afforded at a lower price by going abroad. I think that is a way to countervail the media that's coming out of the West. But it does require time, and it does require the social networking to put that forward. But I wanted to throw that back out to you because you were doing it, and the ad that you had was good. So it's just I'm sure it cost you a certain amount of money, and they got to pay for it, and so on and so forth. But if you take a split on sales that come from the link that's in your channel for that, then you get paid through that, as opposed to they got to pay you so many pesos to do the ad. So anyway, I'll throw that out to the panel.
Let me ask this: how important is expansion to the Passport Bro community?
That's the thing. We've never necessarily really advertised it, though, brother. We've always been in our own. I mean, it's growing. It's organically. Like nobody's just sitting there, hey, become a Passport Bro. It's just expanding on its own.
So
people see the visuals, they see the lifestyle. They join the Facebook groups, the community. It just kind of just does what it does.
The reason why I say that is because, I mean, we worry about stuff like negative media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, I don't really, and this is coming from somebody who's not, who's a bro with a passport more so than a passport bro. But I don't really see, if I were a person who's never traveled and I see something like the Jay Rilla situation or Austin's experience in Brazil,
Mhm.
I wouldn't care. I mean, like, I would just not. It wouldn't deter me from wanting to go to travel. Now, if it did, then I would just say that that person, is beyond saving, and just leave it at that. But why do you have to counter their counter message? I don't.
Mhm.
You know.
Well, if I could respond to that, if you don't mind,
Okay.
did you finish your thought?
No, I am finished. Go for it.
Okay, that the issue is the local communities and the presentation of this is when it's labeled by media, whether it's media in that country or abroad. The issue is then that becomes the definition of what that group is for the uninformed. And so and this actually, it's actually kind of ironic because this issue arose before, specifically with Black Americans, with the Great Migration, that there were several different waves of Black Americans that came from the South to the northern cities. And the last couple of groups that came were the ones with the least amount of resources. And that there, in most cities that Blacks are found in outside of the South, you find, if you go back to the historical footage, this kind of tension of class, essentially. And I'm not talking about class in terms of customs. I'm talking about economic resources. And so part of what's happening, what's happening in this situation is that people are crowdfunding their ability to travel, and they really don't have the skills. It's almost like a lottery winner. Okay, one of the reasons why a lot of lottery winners go broke is because they didn't have the slow workup to making money and the lessons that they learned in making money and increasing it. There's a process. So if you win the lottery, then you still have the same bad skills that you had as a broke person, but now with money. And you just repeat that with money, and usually you go broke. Well, if you follow my analogy, it's also true with this crowdfunding of traveling, where you haven't really done the work to be able to travel and stay abroad over time. And you are basically allowing your subscribers to give you a lottery ticket to entertain them, if you will. You're an avatar for them, also people who usually can't travel. And, you act out their whatever they tell you to do. And that inherently will create problems because you never really worked up the skills and the economics to be able to travel properly.
Well, what I was saying, I understand what you're saying. I was talking about the media, how that should be less of a concern because the message is so strong that it'll reach the people that it needs to reach regardless. What you're saying, though valid, is, people shouldn't travel if they can't afford to because it's bringing, the financial barrier of people should exist to keep a certain mentality of people out. I understand that. I was talking about something else though. I
Okay,
was
let
talking
me
about
get this comment by Carl Dennis real quick. He says, we as Black people lack intelligence. All we want to do is dance and gyrate. It's in our DNA. And we got that from Africa, and it's in our genetics. All we want to do is dance. That's all Africans do. Carl Dennis, pull up to the show, brother. It's the way you talking
well,
about.
I mean,
Yikes.
the thing is that as far as Carl Dennis goes, when you can't dance, you go online and troll for attention. So
Hmm.
yes, people have methods of enjoying themselves, getting excited, jubilation, expressing jubilation. Um, this is yours, and dancing just so happens to be that of every culture that knows how to dance. But yeah,
I just think that's such a destructive trope that's just categorically untrue. You got 54
well,
countries
no, it's
with
not
fully
true.
developed societies, with every element of a fully functioning country.
I
And
spoke about that earlier, but the self hate.
yeah, are there people who are what do they call it, low vibrational? Yes, there are low vibrational people in every society, but
Every society.
is that the full representation of those people? It's not true in
Well,
Africa, it's not true in the diaspora.
yeah, I mean, our attempts to prove him wrong proves him right, because it gives credence and validity to that. If this conversation came up and he replaced African with Asian, they would see no reason to respond or entertain it, because it's simply not true. That's why I didn't see a need to respond or entertain it at all. I just see it as a man's desperate plea for attention, as what it is. We know it not to be
Mhm.
true, so we can, we don't really have to discuss an untrue statement.
No, that's
Mhm.
facts. It just I in discussing what we were discussing, to take it to that low base level vibrational thing of, there are always Negroes that love to dance. That's not what we were talking. We were talking about arbitrage of currency and product placement, and how do we turn this into a positive for not just ourselves but for the communities, for those that live abroad. I've been blessed. I had the opportunity to live
Right.
in several different countries,
And the more
and
that we talk about it, the more we allow him to derail what we were talking
yeah,
about.
yeah,
So that's
I'll move on to what uh, where I was going with this my thing, which
okay.
is, it does matter when you live abroad, the last group or the last person of your group that was in your local community. So, like, I lived in Mexico. I moved to Mexico after I graduated from college. I was 22 years old, and where I was, which was in the interior of the country by Mexico City, that there were no Americans and definitely no blacks. So I was the first black that they had seen in years and where I was. And I was fortunate. I was able to get a job at the university and I was a professor there. But the bottom line is that it does matter what the community's impression of the last of your group was. There were countless people that came to me and said, "Oh, the last American, he was like this." I was surprised
No,
that
I
you were like,
understand.
yeah,
I understand the value of an ethnic reputation, but the instances that you were given, including when you were talking about the Great Migration, you're talking about an overwhelming majority of ill-behaved people, or a small minority that represents the majority, meaning that 100% of Black people. In the instance that that one person represents 100% of Black people that they have met in that instance, that's one thing, and that would be a problem. And if brothers en masse were behaving the way certain brothers who will not be named are behaving, then that would be an issue. As it stands, what's going on is the media is giving extraordinary attention to isolated incidents. That's not what happened during the Great Migration, nor what happened in that situation where he was the only brother there. I'm saying, as BMT said earlier, as he said on Razor's panel, um, pretty soon there'll be a news story out there. Like, people are going to forget about this really soon. And the truth of the matter is, as it always stands, it is a better life for those who can live it. That's never going to change, or that's not going to change anytime soon, I should say. That being the case, there. What were you going to say, brother?
oh, I was trying to let you finish. Finish your thought.
No, I was just saying there isn't anything that can deter a modern American, and we're not talking about like what BMT was saying, 30 plus. No, we're talking about 18 plus. You know, there isn't anything that's going to stop them from wanting to leave modern Western women. There isn't. The message is too
Yeah,
strong.
I just think that what's happened is um, there were certain things that were put forth in the media as uh, good policy for women. I would just share. I have two sisters. I'm the oldest, but I have two sisters and a kid brother, all of
What's
whom
your
are
age range?
adults.
What's your age range?
What do you say?
What's your age
Oh, what's
range?
the age range? I have a sister that's up under me. She's 3 years younger. How old is she now? She is uh, 51, going to turn 52.
Okay.
I have another sister that is 45. She's a mother of four. She had two sets of twins. She's married. Then I have a kid brother who actually he's lived abroad for some time now. He lives in Colombia, and he is 42.
High school.
Go ahead. My
He's
bad. Go ahead.
He's 40.
Okay, and so I'm the oldest. I'm 55,
Okay.
and that what I was going to say was one of the things that went on that's slowly coming to the fore is that women, particularly Black women, unfortunately, were encouraged to put off trying to find a mate in favor of getting their career and education in place and so on. And so they didn't, in many cases, start looking for a mate until they were in their late 20s, so 27, 28, 29. And the ratio of demographics really did create havoc because the other groups of women, specifically when I'm talking about the Mzungu women, the Asian women, the Latina women, that they are pushed to try to find their mate between 22 and 26 at the latest. If you start looking at 27 and really you're pushing it out to 32, 33 years old, most of the horses have already left the barn. So you are running up against the demographic problem of at age 30, in the case of looking for a Black man, the ratio is 5-1. If you're talking about a Black man with no engagement with the criminal justice system, then that ratio bumps up.
Hello.
Stop talking.
Yeah, we hear you. Yeah, we hear you. Hold on a second, Carl. Go ahead, Felipe.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
Stop talking.
I'll wrap up. That the ratio then bumps from 5-1 to 7-1, 8-1. And so then you can hear the frustration of trying to find a mate when you're up against basically demographics. And I'm not upset with that, but I don't think that people told Black women, Black American women, that this is what they would confront when they focus on their career, that they would run up against a demographic problem. So I'll land it there.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. Good point, Felipe. Hold on, Game Changer. I want to bring Carl into the show.
Well, can I say my piece before that, because he's going to take the conversation to a way to where I won't be able to go back to.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Felipe, brother, I hate to tell you, but I think that you have been lied to, as with so many other brothers. There isn't a place or a situation or an age group, except maybe like 84-year-old women, where the ratio is like 5-1. These women that are in their 30s and 40s and complain about men in jail and blah, 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 every day that they complain is a day that they shot down a brother who's not in jail, who is working, who is actually more in shape than she is. They shoot down brothers left and right, and then they go and complain and say, oh, it's 5-1. And you want to know why they do that? You want to know why they cry that cry and lie that lie? It's so that they can have more men to reject. Make no mistake, though they may appear to be victims, they really are not as much of a victim as they claim to be. I would assert that the reason that they ate the or drank the education Kool-Aid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is so that they can expand their options, so that they can do exactly what they're doing now. I want you next time
The education Kool-Aid.
next time a woman complains about a deficit of black men, I want you to take a picture of her and I want you to create a not Instagram, a Tinder account with her picture and see what type of deficit of black men it is. I want you to see how many men will come into that inbox. We could do it right now. We could go online, go to a TikTok account, see what woman is complaining, even if she's fat, wig, fake eyelashes, with 4 kids. There is still somebody in her inbox trying to get in because the ratio is not true 5 to 1.
Oh yeah.
They are lying to you.
Collectively, we don't have no standards. Collectively, I'm not talking about all of us, but collectively, we don't have no standards whatsoever. But you know what? A lot of guys around the world don't have. Well,
no, guys everywhere else, but in the black community, have greater standards.
Because it's the thing. It's like when you see certain guys, you be like, damn, he with her, and he could be like a white guy with a shrewd-looking chick, but he's still expecting a certain standard from her, and we're not, basically. Let me catch this comment.
Have any standards, but
hold on,
if the ratio was truly 5 to 1, we would have standards.
All right, shout out to my man, Ron the Chat with the 5 super chat, man. Shout out to you, man. Appreciate the super chat. You out there in the DR. And that's the other Ronin, guys. This is the other Ronin. It's like 2 Ronins, but this is my other guy, Ronin in the DR. The other Ronin's in the Philippines. Too late to stop this. Passport Bros ideology is unstoppable. Men see travel as the better path for life, money, or women. And in my opinion, family as well, man. Nobody got time to be having their families ripped apart by child support, and family court, and all that shit. Men want to raise their damn kids, man. That's a big part of it too. Carl, what's good, brother? You there?
Yeah, thank you for letting me speak. If you really study black people, the essence of sub-Saharan African people is rhythm. Everything we do has rhythm involved with it. We are superior when it comes to rhythm, being rhythmatic people. That is in our genetics. People, it's right in our faces. When people in the African or the Black American community are dancing, that's from Africa. That's from our slave ancestors. All we do is dance. The white man is actually leveraging us to the highest degree. First, he leveraged us for human labor, human slavery, and now he's leveraging us because we lack intelligence and unity and structure. Everything we do, the white man has something involved in it. Listen, they burnt down Black Wall Street. We did not build it back up stronger and better. You said something earlier. You said, what is the black community's agenda? We have no agenda. We know the white man's agenda. The white man's agenda is to move to Mars. Let him go. Let him move to Mars. Let him go. But what is our agenda as a people? What is our so I know y'all talk.
We take this conversation to something else now, brother.
Let me say this right quick, Carl. I really like.
Dan Chandra, can you turn your audio up a little bit more, brother?
Yeah, sure. Is this better?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's better.
Carl, you should notice I really, really, really like applesauce, but only in the seasons that it's not summer. Did you hear what I said?
I think you're basically saying that it's not the time for this. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Okay, y'all want to talk about black men? Y'all want to talk about black men traveling for sex? Y'all want to talk about black men traveling for sex?
We ain't say nothing about black men traveling for sex, brother.
What I'm saying is
that's all the black man thinks about is pussy. That's why we can't get nowhere, because that's all we think about. We can't.
Carl. Come on, man. Be respectful on the show. This is YouTube. All right, I'll mute your mic, but keep it professional, brother. This is, like I said, this is YouTube. All right, you can prove your point without saying those type of words. All right.
You talking about you trying to be funny. You trying to be funny talking about applesauce when the world look at us as the scum of the earth because we're not prospering. The world actually looks at us as the scum of the earth. The world does not respect us. And you talking about applesauce, this is not the time to talk about this. You said something.
Carl, it's not the time to talk about that. You see, the problem that you're having right now was not the topic of discussion, just like applesauce wasn't the topic of your discussion. So since we were in the habit of segueing conversations with stuff that pertains to the individual that everyone else don't really give a damn about, that is what I was doing.
Okay.
So, do you want to bring up another topic that we weren't talking about? Or do you
No, but the reason why I joined, excuse me.
Do you want to get in line with the conversation at hand?
The only thing I said was what I said in the comments. So that's why.
Do you want to get in line with the conversation at hand, or do you want to get your stuff off?
No, I really don't want to. I wanted to have a good conversation. So since I'm not on topic, I'm not gonna.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a different topic. I'm sorry about it. But the statement I was making came from a comment I made in the post. That's what I yeah, it was.
Okay, so yes, please, if you have something off topic, or if we are in the tradition of having conversations about off topic stuff, let's talk about applesauce. Now you see how foolish you sound? The way you think the world thinks of black people, that's how I think of you right now. So stick on topic if you can. Get the music out your brain and stick on topic if you can, or
I'm gonna remember this conversation. You kind of insulted me in certain ways, but this is gonna be inspiration for me to come back and really speak my mind on the black man because we are weak. All we do is lust for white women, and we can't even build up our communities.
Carl, where are you from, brother? If you don't mind me asking, wait, are you from America? You foundational Black American?
I was raised in America.
But where's your family from?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, where's your family from? You said you was raised in America, but where are your family from?
Jamaica.
Okay. So are you speaking about your experiences with Jamaica and everything, or are you talking about Black Americans in general?
I'm talking about black people as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I love Black Americans. Black Americans are the most intelligent people. Are the most intelligent black people. And guess why? Because Black American grew up under the white man's infrastructure. I guarantee you, if they would have gave y'all a state to yourself, it'd be like Alabama or Mississippi. There would be no type of productivity but dancing. That's all Jamaicans do.
Carl don't know our history, man, and this to be the issue. We're not even talking about that. You're segueing into a whole other discussion, bro. But
well, I mean,
we have like a great history, but we're not gonna get into that on this particular stream. But we've done a lot to America. As a matter of fact, America would not be in the position it is today if it wasn't for foundational Black Americans. But like I said before, we're not talking about that. That's not what this discussion is about. Exactly. We can have that discussion, but just not on this show.
Well, the thing is,
let me say one more thing before I go.
No, you can't. He has.
No, hold on. Let him get off, Game Chill. Let him get off. Go ahead, because we about to end the show.
In a couple of years, artificial intelligence is going to discriminate against black people, and I'm gonna tell you guys this because black people are not contributing to building these artificial intelligent models. And artificial intelligence that is coming for everybody is going to discriminate against black people the worst. And I'm going to end it right there. Just remember this conversation.
Okay, Carl. Okay. I appreciate you joining the show, bro. Jesus Christ. Carl came in with that thunder, didn't he? God damn.
That's the problem. I mean, people, you got to make sure that you're not related to a person before you impregnate them. You have to, or else you'll have a child like Carl. That's just ridiculous. But moving on the topic that we were discussing.
Yeah, Carl just came in with the all right, Passportbros forever, Passportbros for life. All right, shout out to you for the super chat. Appreciate that, Brandon Carl. And I gotta make you a mod too, by the way, brother. I don't know what my mod said today.
Oh yeah, me too.
Oh, for sure, for
But yeah,
sure.
but no, back to what Felipe said. I think that amongst other things that Black women do is part of their propaganda engine. It is in their best interest that society looks at Black men as degenerates, and they look at Black women as victims of their degeneracy. If you notice the pattern of behavior from the Black woman's culture, every time they paint the Black men in a negative light, excuse me, white society give them provisions in the form of welfare or something like that. So it's convenient for them to do that. When they say that oh, Black men are in jail or blah 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 blah, what they're really saying is I want some affirmative action penis.
Well, I mean, this is a tough one. I understand what you're both saying, and I think what you had to say, Game Changer, was thoughtful. I was projecting into my comments the assumption of hypergamy, and that women in general are only shooting for the top 30 to 20% of the male group, regardless of race.
Well, it's going to be five times more if you're shooting for the top 20. That's just numbers.
And so what you're saying is correct. I just, like in geometry, where I had that as a given, where that, but I understand the point that you're making, and that there is some truth to that. But let me contextualize it a little bit to say that what changed was during my grandparents' and parents' time, although my mom is a baby boomer, there were more what they called structural marriages, meaning that if let's say you were a 6, right, as a guy, and let's say the girl was a 6 or a 5, that the families would then work together in the institutions that they were involved with, whether it was, hanging out after work or through the Black church or whatever it was that you were involved with socially, to try to network these marriages. I'm sure you've heard about that from your parents and your grandparents. They would also put a lot of emphasis on the social events with school, and that's how they found their mates. Well, in the 60s going into the 70s, then the agenda changed to push for more marriage pairing through what they called love, right? So the family stepped back, and the individuals were picking their own mates. And what came out of that was that people that were 5s were still shooting for 7s and 8s. And there was no institution to say, look, you're a 5, you can't, that's beyond your reach. So when and you see it in these interviews all the time, of regardless to if the woman is extremely attractive or if she's unattractive, she's demanding 6 figures, and she's saying, this is what I expect and my expenses and so on and so forth. When the reality of it is much like the lottery winner, if you are a 5 or a 6 and you haven't been around, you haven't been around a man who's a 7 or 8.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Let Felipe speak.
Yeah, I'm landing. That what would go on is this, that regardless to what they are, which they don't have a true sense of themselves in terms of what they rate themselves, almost all of them will say, regardless of their looks, they're a 10 or a 9 or whatever. And so there's no accountability factor to say, listen, if you're with a guy who's a 7 or an 8, he works a lot. And so therefore, he's not going to, he's going to need certain things out of his mate. And can you provide those or not? And that's not even a point of conversation for, I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of the young women, that they don't realize, like, no, I can't be with a guy who works 100 hours a week and I'm watching TV all the time or whatever it is. I don't want to denigrate them. But, you know, to understand that there's a role that they have to play too, and they may not be on the same agenda as a high-performing male. So that's all I was going to say.
Well, I want to start off by responding and saying this, that that men, especially if you're getting with your woman younger, you should always look to split the difference between your number and 10 as far as looks go. A woman should always be prettier than a man is handsome in any relationship that is going to function over a long period of time. The reason for this is because her beauty deteriorates while your wealth increases. Therefore, in order for the relationship to be level, you know, throughout the extent of the relationship, then and for both of you to get equal value, then that is the way it works. For example, you know, if two people marry at 20, but she's significantly pretty, then he is handsome. By the time he reaches 40 and he's at his economic high and she is at her physical low, he is now paying for her 20s and 30s, which she originally invested into the relationship. Anything else, you find yourself at a deficit later on in life. If a 20-year-old man who's a 7 gets with a 20-year-old woman who's a 7, and then 20 years down the road, she turns into a 4 and he turns into an economic, you know, he turns into an economic 9, then who's losing in that regard? So we got to be careful about that. Now, as far as
and hold on, I want to point something out with what you just said, Game Changer, because that's very true. What you just said is similar to like when you start seeing the girls that you was in your class kind of falling off as you get older, and you like, well, damn, I'm in shape, my money good. It's like when you marry somebody your same age versus like what you're supposed to marry somebody a tad bit younger than you, because you're right, like the balance gets off as you grow older. Your value goes up, her value goes down. So like I said before, if you got two 40-year-olds in a relationship, it's going for divorce 9 times out of 10. Not all in all cases. Some people still love each other, but in most cases, either he want to get out or maybe she's just trying to get loose, whatever it is. But you know, it's much better when you marry younger. When you marry a younger woman.
With two 40-year-olds, that's a situation where he's giving her.
The sex not even compatible no more, really.
Yeah, exactly, because her vagina dries. But I mean, with two 40-year-olds, he's giving her his best years and she's giving him her worst years. You know, the only way two 40-year-olds work is if she gave him her 20s and 30s. I mean, that's her best years. His best years.
And men don't get it twisted now. Men are loyal. Like men, you know, they wives, they more loyal. It'd be the women that be wanting to divorce half the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, we're more honorable. Like if someone gives us something and we owe them, like if they give us their youth, fertility, and beauty, we're not going to leave when she turns 40 and starts going gray because, you know, she's not as hot as she used to be. And that's the institution that has lasted for so many generations until Felipe's parents' generation messed it up and tried to do something different. And that's why we're living with the repercussions of that.
Whoa. Go back to that. Why you say his generation messed it up? What are you talking?
No. His parents' generation. His parents' generation.
Oh, okay. Let me try to slide one in real quick on Felipe.
No, he was just commenting on the generational issue. But go ahead.
No,
okay.
I'm saying that though, because he brought up a point where he was saying that, you know, they were raised in the circumstances that pushed the importance of relationships. And they stopped. Mm-hmm. First of all, it was that generation that had the divorce boom of the 1980s. So no matter how much the previous generation, the traditional generation, pushed traditional values, they rebelled against traditional values. And then they trained their daughters to be something completely different than what their grandmother trained them to be. And now we are.
Okay, hold on, Felipe, before you answer. Carl, you got anything to say? We're about to close out the show. You got anything to say before we all go?
On the topic?
Yeah, thank you for letting me talk again. That's why I respect Cynthia G, because she really speaks the truth about the black man. Ain't no hope for the black man. Ain't no hope for black people, yo.
Okay. All right. What? Carl. Okay.
Oh,
all right.
Wow.
Show real quick. All right.
So once again,
all right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and close. We can be talking all night, man. So we go ahead and close the show out, man. Appreciate you guys coming on. It's been a great show. All right.
BMTY, while I'm here, to check your email, I sent you a care package.
Okay. Appreciate that.
No, it's all good since I had you on. Thank you for having me up. And Game Changer, it was a pleasure as always.
Yeah, Game Changer. Yeah. Y'all be dropping dimes. Y'all like the Passport Bros OGs for real. Appreciate y'all coming on, man.
Appreciate it. All right, thanks.